Hey everyone, how's it going? Yesterday we did some good work trying to figure out how to get a blog page rendered. So we did pretty well. We made quick work of it too. We can actually go look at it real quick over here in the this is another project. If I go to blog posts, I actually don't remember how this worked. Oh yeah, we had a lorem ipsum. But yeah, so we designed this whole thing, rendered in the data from our payload CMS. So it looks pretty good for some pretty quick work. So I'm happy with this. I probably won't leave this posts count here, but I might just for fun right now. But yeah, so what we're gonna do today is really build on this work, because when we go to the blog route, all we see is a hello. That's all it says is hello, which is not a very useful blog index page. So we need to fix that so that it's actually something that is useful. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So we go over and we just go to the blog, and we can see what this looks like now. So again, all you see is the hello. And if we go to our blog route, not the slug, but the actual page, let's go ahead and clear out this SCSS real quick. And then we have all of this junk. We're gonna delete all of this again, and we're just gonna take most of what we see in the individual blog page. No, we can actually work through this, I think. So we need our classes. And now, of course, when you create a new project, none of this old junk is going to be there unless it's your own project that you cloned, which is what I did here. So a lot of this will get used most likely eventually, but it's just, I think, in the way right now. So we don't need any of this stuff yet. We don't need this. We'll leave the global settings and cache. Oops. Come on. Cache global and global settings, which we need to set this back to be perfect. So I don't know if we actually use this, and we need to set this back to get payload, because the HMR, which was hot module replacement, I think is deprecated now, so we can just use get payload. We're not going to use this revalidation. We probably never will, but I'm going to leave it there just in case. And then let's go ahead and get, do I need these queries, or do I do the query inside as I should? I do them inside. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. So I don't want to generate metadata. Not yet anyway. And we can come down here to props. And then we'll call these, instead of that, we'll call them blog props. We don't need this query here. Hearing my dog go crazy upstairs for whatever reason. All right, and then so we're going to take all of this and uncomment it out and clear this stuff out. So we're not doing messages, we're doing blogs. And this is going to be our blog props. And I already don't know why this is here. Cannot redeclare exported variable. I wonder if it's because, is this blogs? No, it's a page. This may not actually be blogs though. So if I go here, what did I export this out? Blog. Okay, so we'll make sure that that goes away. But yeah, so we have our const page params, which is exactly what we're looking for. We're going to do blog query instead of whatever that was before. And then we'll figure this out later. I'm going to go ahead and just do a comment out there though. All right, so we want to first fetch all of our posts. So I'm going to do that here on the collection of posts. We're going to limit it to 12 though, because that's all we're going to take in. and we do have, oh, this is in the page. It shouldn't be though. All right, so we're only gonna take this. I think what I did in this old project was I allowed it to, I enabled pagination, which we will do later, but not right now. So we're going to do where this should be, let's move this, I think status. Let's take a look at our, oh, I broke everything. Will this let me go to our admin panel? Oh, that's what's going on. So let's just get rid of this. It was trying to take the old default, but will this let me go here? Do I need to comment this out? Perfect. All right, so let's open up our dashboard. Come over here to posts. Nope, that's pages. Posts. And so what we're looking for is what our side, get out of here. Our status, so it's just top level. So we're just going to be looking for status. It's not equals to draft. So we're going to take this and put it into our blog query. So we want this to be a date of less than or equal to today, or whatever the current date is, and not in draft. So I'm going to replace this where query with blog query. And we're going to sort it by negative date. So it's going to give me the date in descending order, and we're going to make sure that our date is actually called date, and it is. Perfect. We're not going to add any schema yet. We're not going to do anything with a featured post quite yet. And we need to remove all of these classes. So instead of section as well, this is going to be main. Get rid of schema stuff for now. We have H1, which is going to be all posts. Get rid of classes again. We don't have anything for featured. And then here we have all which returns docs, and we're going to have this be any doc that the length of docs is greater than 0, so it's not an empty list. And we are going to return, just so we can see it, we're going to return an H2 with a key of, is this not a map? This isn't a map. I do need the map though. So all docs length, oh okay, I understand what I have to do. So we get rid of that, we do category selection, and then here we're going to add just a div for now. And really, actually, this does need to be a section container, and this needs to be a content container. And then now we have here, we have all docs, and we are going to have our posts. Well, yeah, we'll leave it as post. And then just for now, we will now return an H2, and we're going to bring in our paste post title, and we're going to see how this does. If we go back to our local host and just do blog, we see all posts. This is a title, a test title, lorem ipsum dolores event. Now, if we go over to our admin, and the reason that we're not seeing other posts, because we do have all of these, so they're not set with a date. So if we do a date, and we're going to set this to be October 1st, so it shows up last. And I think we're getting an error because I didn't add a key, so I'm going to do that now. Post.id. And so now there's going to be no error, and we see all the titles that we have as active. If we go back here and we set the status to draft, that should disappear. Yep, it's gone now. All right, so I'm going to leave this just so I don't have only 2 posts to work with. And we're going to have that come back, test 2. So obviously I don't want it to look like that. So we're going to build out some cards, and luckily we have a card section already. I don't know if it's going to work though. because it is meant to be a block, but let's take a look. So we are going to, instead of an H2, we will have a card. Well, first we need the div up here to be a card section. And we're going to import that from this, I believe. Yes, okay. And so I don't think this is going to work because we have set up here a card section or a header section which is not included in our card. We could make one, but I don't really want to have to do all that. So what we're going to do instead is just create our own cards for this. So it's really going to be the simplest way, I think. So if we do div, and as we go, this is going to be class name, classes, get out of here emojis. This will be a card container. Really, it's going to be, we'll do card row. Class name, this is going to be classes. This is going to be the full card, so we're just going to call this card. And then we're going to have two sections. One is going to be the image, so this will be class name, classes.card image. That's going to be an image object, which is going to have our post. Well, first, I'm sure we're going to have to do type of post dot content dot image, and do that is to not equal to string, and so that should show up whenever we're done here. So we have our image, and then we're going to have our class name, classes.card body, where we will have, it should be probably, we'll do an H2 just because of hierarchy, and then we'll have a serialize lexical, which is going to have nodes of post dot content dot this is going to be interesting. So we could do actually nothing here because we want to use our summary or our description for featured posts only. So we won't do anything there. So we'll only do the title, and that's going to be our post.title. And then underneath that, we should do probably a general date where we can enter our date of post dot date, and then include time is false, and then class name will be classes dot card date, self-closing there. All right, so we've got our card, which then we have the image and the body, which then has a header, class name, classes, card, we'll do title. And then we've got our date, which cannot be an empty string. And then I think we're in good shape to hit refresh. And this is gonna look atrocious, I'm sure of it. Yes, it is. But that's because we don't have any formatting yet. So that's what we get to do now. So I'm gonna leave it down into column view so we can get started there. And we're going to come over to our page module, get rid of card section here, and we're gonna add in our variables. There we go. And then we're gonna find all of our class names that we've done so far. I'm gonna copy all of these. I'm gonna have to add one for image, I think, but we'll see here in a second. And then, oops. All right, so for card row, we are going to set our, well, let's get styling in first. So we definitely want our card to be, let's move this over. We'll do at include rounded. So we want the edges to be rounded. as soon as it loads, any moment now. Well, why aren't you rounding? Probably because of this other div here. Well, no, it should be fine. All right, so let's do something real quick. So if we have our card body, which we will have a background color of our light primary. And then for our card, we will also do a margin. Well, let's actually just set this to be flex, display flex, and then do a gap of, we'll do 1 rem. All right, so that didn't work quite like expected, so let's go down to card and we'll do flex and set that to be 0, 0. Auto, I guess. Okay, and then we'll do flex wrap, wrap, wrap. So it's wrapping now, but for some reason the image is huge, so I think the shrink needs to be 1. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're seeing some movement here. Then for the card body, we're gonna set a padding all around of 1 rem. So I just thought of something. This actually needs to be a link. So we're going to set this whole div to be a link. This is going to be, oh, I need to import. So option enter. We need a key, which will be our post ID. And then we need an href, which is going to be our /blogs. I think that, nope, /blog. And then hit it with post.slug. So now if I save that, nothing should change. But now all of these are links. So yeah, blog, perfect. Okay. And that still works. Great. So let's get these edges rounded, shall we? So the card is not rounded, though it should be. So let's see why not here. So I'm going to lift this up. We have border radius. Does it? I hope it doesn't need to be important because it should just be right. We need to make this a little bit more evident so I can see. All right. So our card isn't, I think I need to then set an inner div to keep both of them together. So let's do that and do another div. When I save that, it looks rounded on the bottom, maybe. No, so it's still not rounded. But if we come here, we can do border, radius, 10 rem. Very interesting. It's funny how some things just don't work like I want them to. But I'm sure if I go here to this div and do border radius of 100 pixels, I'm not seeing anything here. Let me... So inspect, and then we have okay, 1 rem. important. Okay, no. 10 rem, nothing. Sometimes things just don't work like you want them to. Important. Okay, so it's clearly not an importance thing. Sorry, I need to plug in the camera there. So let's come back to that. We will figure out how to get it rounded here in a minute. Don't quite understand, but that is fine. And so these as little baby cards on mobile, they seem fine. So I do want to get them rounded, but now if I expand, so we can go to, let's say, include, we'll do our medium small breakpoint where we can then set our flex. This is the wrong kind of brackets. Set our flex to be 1, 0, and we'll say like, all right, so here we're gonna do some, well, yeah, we're still gonna do math, but not the intense math that I thought I was going to do. So we'll do calc minus 1 rem. And then here we can see that, do I need to set this to be, I would like them all to be the same size. All right, so we see 2 of them and then one big one at the bottom, which is not the end of the world, it's just not what I want. Which really means, let's set this to be, well, what does the auto do at bigger screen sizes? So we come over here. Okay, so it's all just 100%. So, so flex, we don't grow, that's right. Well, we'll see if that's right. Yeah, so that's exactly right. Perfect. So now we've got these that are expanding as we go, and we're going to set our align items to be stretch, because I just don't like when things, like there's this white space down here at the bottom, but when I align items stretch, at least it, I think it needs to be in card. Well, no. Well, so I think I need to set the display here to be flex direction column. And then it should be, I think, justify items. Wrong. All of it's wrong. All right, so let's go back and we're going to take a look here. I think we have to set the inner div, which I don't think actually needs to exist. And then this needs to be set to display flex or align items. Stretch. Nope. All right, so let's get rid of that div because I don't think we need it. Here. All right, so now let's refresh to make sure all of this is right. Okay, so we have this card. This mic is getting in my way. So then we need to do, let's try this again, align items. Stretch. So maybe it's on the card row. Align items. Stretch. Oh, okay, so in that case, what I need to do is this is supposed to be align items, stretch up here. But the problem is that the card's background color is not this light primary. So we can set the card background to be that, which may be why our rounding wasn't working. And there it is, it's now rounded, but not on the image. So if we go to card image and we do overflow hidden, I thought for sure that would work. Card image. What if I did aspect ratio of 16:9? Nothing, because they are already 16:9. All right, so if we look at our card, and then we can do, oh, okay. So we do our overflow hidden at our card level, not our image level. Okay, perfect. So now we have our rounding, overflow hidden. And so here, this is not a great image to see that kind of rounding, but there it is, and you can see, get it clicked out of there. You can see all of this is working as intended. So now we get a little bit bigger, and probably right about here. So this is probably our mid size, where we will then do 3 in a row at mid break. And we'll see if this was mid break. It was not, but if we go a little bit bigger, there's our medium break. And then at large size, at include large break, we'll do flex, and we can set this to be 25%, and we can accept 4 on a row, which it does right there. So here we don't want the text size to be that big for either the date or the title, so we're going to go to our card title, and we're going to set our font size to be, we'll just say 1 rem. That's probably going to be too small, but then the font date we'll set the font date for the card date font size to 1, and we'll set this to be 1.1. And that seems a little bit more appropriate. Perfect. So now we have all posts. Now what if we want to have a featured post? So we can do that by setting a post to be featured over here, where we'll do test2 as the featured post. So now what we need to do is set a different query where we're going to take, so we need to do a couple things here real quick. So we're not going to use these page params yet. We'll do that when we get into pagination. So I'm going to leave them there. We're just not going to use them yet. But what we want to do is get our featured. So we'll do a featured query. We can do these we need as well. And then after that, we need to do, what is this called? I think it's just featured API. That's why I like the API. It's there, it helps, and it's so easy to find what I'm looking for. So featured will be true. And then we're going to, right here, do const featured equals await payload.find, and we're going to do an object where we're looking for the collection of posts. We're only looking for 1, where featured query. What else do we have here? I think I might need to adjust that and do, we won't do a sort because there should only be 1 true featured blog. We're going to limit it to 1, and then we don't need to do page 1 because we're only doing 1. All right, so this where is being weird. Property featured is, so equals true. There you go. And now we're going to use this slug here that we didn't get rid of because I knew I was going to need it, to make sure that we filter out our, well, first let's do get featured, and then here we'll create a featured and do await get featured, and we do docs 0. That way we don't have to keep writing it. Await shouldn't actually matter because it's already done. So we're going to take our featured slug and make sure that that is not returned here as our general log. So actually, if I refresh, it should work and test2 should go away. And it does. Perfect. You love to see it work the first time. So we have all posts. Let's change that to recent posts. Well, actually, we'll leave that as all posts. So we're going to come down here and do an H2 and do recent posts. And we have an H2 here, so we should actually make this into an H3, again for hierarchy. And then we'll do H2. And we should actually do a div here. So we'll do div. You can actually do a section, keep it semantic. Do the same down here. Set this as a section, because this is going to be this recent post section. This is going to be our featured post section. So now if we refresh, we should see those changes reflected. We're all post, well, then we'll see featured post and recent posts. So we're only going to have one featured post, and we can get that through our featured card. And so I want this to look different, so we're going to not use a reusable component for this, though we might simplify what we just did for our blog cards. We're not going to do that here for this because it's just not worth it. So we're going to have, this is going to be the class name, classes featured card. This is going to be classes featured image. And then we will have another div where we'll do class, we'll do class name, classes.featured body. Then we'll have our, another div, which is going to be our class name, classes, featured header, which I'm going to include both the featured title as well as we're going to do another div real quick. Div class name classes dot featured info, which is going to have our featured title. It'll also have another div which is going to have a, we'll just do a paragraph for a featured dot. Ooh, okay, so we're getting a little in depth here. So let's do the date first. So we'll do general date with the date of featured dot date, or an empty string. Include time is going to be false. We'll do class name classes featured date. And that should be about all that needs. And then under that, we'll do we'll do a span, which actually this should be a span because I want it to be inline. So we'll do a span there, and then here we'll do a div with a set of spans, which is going to be our featured dot, I guess it's under content dot authors. So we're going to look for type of featured content authors does not equal a string, and we do this dot map. And we're going to have our author type. Which is not actually a type, so I don't know why that tried to import. So if we do want that though, we should do our user, which is going to be import user from payload types. And that's what this actually is, so we'll do user, and we'll see if it works. If not, oh well. And then we're going to return paragraphs. We'll do spans again. We'll do class name of classes dot featured author. And this is going to be something that'll be good to be added to the other cards as well. So we'll do that underneath our post title. We're just going to steal the same thing here. Okay. And instead of featured, we'll do post. Post. And then we'll do author. Oops, we'll do author dot name. And this span is going to need a key, which will be author dot ID. And then we'll do the same thing up here where we're adding the key, author dot not slug ID. The slug could work because slug needs to be unique. And then we'll do author dot name. And so here we also need to add feature, Lord. We need to add all of this again. Actually, I don't know if we need to. If we do feature.content.authors, can I do length? Yes, I can. If it's greater than 0, we need to add a comma and a space. If not, just an empty string is fine. It should probably do the ternary correctly. This is possibly undefined, which is fine because I have feature.content.authors. I don't think this is going to work either. So it will. All right, perfect. So this won't change anything for the featured, but we can try it out with some blog authors. All right, so if I then save this, the featured card is going to look like trash, but it's there, greater than 1. And this is why we test things. So that should go away. And we do need to make all of this again into a link with an href of featured.slug. An empty string. Which actually, so this section is only going to exist if there is a featured blog. So we should be able to do featured featured and. So I guess I still need to do this to satisfy the link, but this should never be undefined. So then we come here and we do our image object again, and here we do our type of featured.content.image does not equal a string, then featured content.image, and we can add our undefined indicators. So now it should pop up again, ugly. So we will then take our featured card, and I think we have everything labeled that we need labeled, and we're going to come all the way down with all of these different classes that we've got to set now. Date. And then I've got our featured author. And so here we're going to add it to the top, and we're just going to set this to be featured. This is going to be recent, not recent. Okay, so our featured card. We are going to set this no matter, well, at the smallest screen size, it still needs to look like this. One column view is the way to go here. So we're going to do our featured card, which we will set our background color to be our light primary. We will include rounded, which should round all of the corners. If we do overflow hidden, whoops, need semicolons there. So our featured card should be getting something. Featured card. First, let's actually see something. So I want to make sure that when I hit the featured button here and save that, it should go away. Yes, I know. Oh. So we need to set this to be able to be undefined. But yeah, so now we see test 2 is down here under recent posts. And here's where I think that I had some conditional logic. So if, so featured post can be there. So we don't need recent posts if featured doesn't exist. So if we do no featured, we don't need that. So then I can get rid of it if featured if featured does not exist. Yeah. So that should not be there if I'm doing this right in my brain. So this will be featured dot I need it when featured is there. Duh. So I just need all posts when it's not. So we can go back here, we can make this featured. And then we have test 2, which should come up here for our featured post. That's good. We're gonna come and do our featured body, where we're gonna have a padding of 1 rem. At least at this screen size, it will change. So our featured card, we will do display flex direction column. And then we don't need a gap. We'll give a gap though. I think I'm no, I did this right. Okay. So flex column. So now this looks fine. I probably want to do in our sections here. This is gonna be class name, classes dot recent posts. And then under this section, we're gonna have class, not content. Class name, classes dot featured post. So in our featured post, we'll do margin 0. Oh wait, no, 1 rem 0. And then in our recent posts, we'll do margin 1 rem 0. So that should give it a little bit more breathing room once it updates, which I think it already did update. And then in our card row, we also want a little bit of breathing room, so we'll do margin top of 1 rem. And we can do the same thing for our featured card. We'll do margin top 1 rem. So this is looking a little bit better, a little bit more spaced out. I'm liking it. All right, so now there's a bit of a gap here though. What is that about? Oh, because this gap is setting it for the actual card itself. All right, so looks good. I like how this looks for smaller screens. Now, when we get up to our mid-size, we're going to change things around. So we'll do include, medium, small break, and we can do our flex direction row. We'll make sure that this is the right. It is not, so let's set it at our small break. Where's our small break? There's our small break. Okay, so that'll do. Of course, this is not how we're going to leave it, but at our small break, we want our, let's see here, our featured image to be flex of 1, 1, and we can do probably 50-50 split would be good. So we're going to do our calc again for 50% minus 1 rem. Oh, this needs to be at include, small break. And we're going to do the same thing under our featured body. So ideally, this should set at 50-50%. Ooh, I love when things just work out like I want them to. So that has the author. We can add the summary here. So we should have that. We can add it under our span here, which we will do as paragraph, and we can do our post dot summary. Oh, it's featured dot summary. Featured content summary. And this is only going to be included if that even exists. Featured content dot summary. Perfect. And this one should. What data type is this? Perfect. Cool. So we have this right where we need it. We are going to change how this looks because I don't quite want it to be that big. So really at our, we'll say this should be medium. So let's go and set this to be our medium break, or so it should be mid break. Same thing here. We'll do a mid break, and so you'll be 25% and you'll be 75%. Which should make it much smaller, and that looks good to me, even at this screen size. So now let's adjust the header section where I've got so the date, it's a little big. So we're going to change that. I'm fine with the font size of the header. It's a little bit bigger than the other posts, but that's okay because it's featured. It should be. The date can probably change. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to assign the date class. So that date to this one, because there's another thing that I'm going to want to do, which is also do a color, and not light primary. I want to do dark primary, 70% to make it a little bit faded. And then we need to actually change the order where we will have that. And then in this span, we'll do class name, classes. This is going to be, it can't be featured info because I already have that. So this is going to be featured data, I guess. This is why people use Tailwind, so they don't have to think of class names like this. So we're going to take our featured data. Yep, need it there though. Come down here. Featured data, and then we'll start at small. Maybe we won't start at small. So here's the small break. I thought I saw something weird. All right, so there's the small break there. And yeah, I think this will work. So we're gonna do display flex, justify content. We'll do flex start. We'll do a gap of 2 rem. And that should get these on the same row. 2 rems a little much. Let's do 1 rem. That looks a little bit better. And I think we're good there, because I don't really want it to be on the same as the title. So that looks about right. So now if I click into test 2, it'll load up 404 not found. I wonder why, but I do have data here, so that shows up there, and that shows up there. So now if I were to get rid of test 2 as a featured post and say, well, first let's make sure that this works. So that comes back down here. Nothing has really changed. And then I want to go back to my posts, and I'm going to set this test. This is my new featured post. We're going to set this to be a longer description. This is actually going to be what's longer. So let's set it to all the way to be 300. There you go. Okay, so that's going to be longer. I'm going to add multiple authors here. We still don't have categories. We'll add it. We will choose the same image as before. It's published. We're going to feature it. It'll be featured for today. We'll say 9, so I don't have to worry about it. And then now if I save this, the slug should not change, and that's okay. And then we come back over here to our blog. We have this new featured post. In here, I see an issue. So we want this. So a couple issues here. So first, the image needs to fit into this whole space. So we'll fix that here in a second. And then we have our comma being added to the end. So let's start there. That's going to be easier. And we're going to do that by coming to our authors. And we have our author, and we should be able to include our index. And then there's one other thing that we can add here. I don't remember what it is. What is that? So map comes back with, I should be able to take a look into it. Got a callback function, value index, array. Okay, so not what really what I'm looking for. So maybe it is. So map array argument. So okay, so we have the original argument, or sorry, this is optional. Oops. Represents the original array on which map is being called. So what we want to do is we can just call this array, and then what we want to say is if our featured content author's length is greater than 1, so there's 2 or more, and or if that's true, then we also want to check that it's not the last user in the array. So I should be able to see that I is less than array I plus 1. Oh wait, so array, sorry, dot length. And if that's true, then we will return a comma. Otherwise, the blank string times 2, I guess. So we'll see what this ends up being. All right, so that worked. I'm sure there's a neater way to write it, but it works. That's what matters. So then the image is the last thing that we need to fix, and then this is all done. Really, actually, first, the summary needs to be a lot smaller. So let's fix that problem first. And we have our content summary. It's going to be a paragraph. We're going to have a class name, classes. We'll do featured summary. And you can see that we're already generating a lot of classes that we're not going to edit. But still, so featured summary, we will do a font size. No, we don't want it to be that small. So we can do maybe 1.05 rem. So it's a little bit bigger. I need to align items here. Do align items center. So now that's all aligned. That looks good. Now here, we want to work on the image, because as we get bigger, it fits. But as we get smaller, the gap just gets bigger. So we need to do, I think we can do object fit contain. Nope. Cover. All right, so it's not object fit. Auto. Okay. Object fit contain. Cover. All right, so here is where things get interesting, because well, if we set this to be our aspect ratio to be 16:9, we can do, maybe it needs to be here, aspect ratio 16:9, and then we can do height 100% maybe. Okay, it's closer. Instead of contain, it needs to be, I just deleted something that I needed. So yes, there we go. So it needs to be cover set at the image level. No big deal there. Do I need this? Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. So what I need then is object fit cover and height of 100%. And so that's going to make the image scale up and down within its container space for me. So that's perfect, exactly what I'm looking for. So I need it starting at the small size, which should be 50-50. I don't know why it is not right now. But so we need to go to our featured image. And at the small size, we're going to tap into our image. And we're going to set our height to be 100%. And we're going to do object fit of cover. And then we're going to set this so that it does not grow. And it should only ever be 50%. Let's refresh. Oh, and so I need to set this to not shrink. Should always be 50%. There we go. So now we got our 50-50 split right there. And then as we go, it switches over to this. So it's kind of a harsh jump from the 50-50, so maybe we need to add our medium small break, not large, our medium small break, and we can do our we can do flex, and we can set it to be so flex shrink we can set to 1, and then or did I do something wrong here? Because it's the body that so I need to set this back to be 1, and then here the flex featured body. Oh, I think I just did stuff wrong. So we do 50% there and then 75% there. Yeah, I just crossed some wires. That's no biggie. Okay. So now, as the image adjusts, or as the text adjusts, we're able to, now I gotta fix that. But as the image adjusts, we're able to expand and contract the size of things. So here, let's fix that real quick. the there's a little bit of overlap here, so I don't want it to wrap quite like that. So how do I want it to wrap? So this is the featured data. So flex wrap. Man, flex wrap. Oh, like that. That's how I want it to be done. All right, so now let's take a look here. And there's a gap in between. So let's set that to 0 real quick. So we can set this to be column gap instead. So when we get to wrap, that's fine there. So now we see that this works perfectly good all the way through. I do want to add a little bit more space. So let's set a margin to be like 0.5 rem, 0. There, perfect. So now we have a feature, we have all posts, we have our featured post, which we can click into. I think. Don't know why that's not working. Oh, because I did the thing wrong. Right, so I'm glad I'm testing this now. So we have our link, which is going to be our featured slug. Let me get there. And this is going to need to be a blog featured slug. Now if I go back to blog, localhost, blog. So now if I click on it, there it is. I see it. It's live. And so I see an issue here at the individual page. We can wrap this up with fixing that. But first, we look good here with our featured posts and our recent posts. This does not repeat, so this only shows as the top post for what we have going. So let's click into this and fix that up real quick because we didn't look at it last time. So here we have our, we're gonna get rid of the post count. No, I want to keep it still because I just want to see what it looks like. So we have our blog authors class that we need to take a look at. And here we're going to set it to be display flex. We'll do flex wrap wrap. We'll do column gap of 1 rem, just like we did with the other stuff. So we have our column gap there. Then we'll wrap down. Perfect. Great. And it looks like it's all aligned. So we are good to go there. So now we can go back to our blog. And this is a great place to stop because now we have our all posts. We have a featured post that is dynamically created when we activate the featured post. And then we have all of our recent posts that fall into line afterwards, depending on date, sorted from descending, so highest date to lowest date, and it's all responsive, so you love to see that. So what we're going to work on next is getting in our metadata for our featured post, or sorry, for our index page here and for our recent posts. So if we go to our to-do list here, we built out the main blog page, so now the next thing to do is to create metadata for blog posts. And we already got all that initialized with our SEO plugin. So eventually we'll get to the contact form and the industry pages and everything in there. But what we've done so far is some pretty good work in our blog pages and in our index page here. So hopefully all of that tracked, like it's a good way of getting this done. Again, I like how we're seeing these errors for the image, and that's on me. So let's write that down real quick. Oh, you couldn't see that. So I'm still seeing like in the image that it can't be undefined. But that's, I think, just my misunderstanding about TypeScript. So we're also going to troubleshoot TypeScript errors on image objects. And I think that'll be probably one video, I think. You can let me know what you think in the comments if we can do all of that into one video. It's necessary. It's more like cleaning stuff, though, so it's a little more like a chore. So it's not the fun part of getting all of this together, but seeing the errors and knowing that they're going to fail on build kind of makes me nervous. So we'll work on that. So we will also do generate static params for our blog posts. And then, so maybe the next, yeah, we definitely won't do anything with the image objects next time. What I think we'll end up doing is a lot more with the blog posts, because we want to also, we're going to create the metadata, yes, we're going to generate static params, yes, but we also need to work on on-demand revalidation with hooks. So we can use hooks in payload to get our data to be refreshed in the cache. That's what the whole query blog, or yeah, the whole query blog post thing was. I keep switching back. I think we need to actually add it over to our, well, actually, so we may make our index dynamic. We'll see, because if we don't make it dynamic, what ends up happening is we have to refresh the entire path, which is not terrible, but when the blog grows to be like thousands of pages, that's going to be a pretty expensive transaction. So we may want to make, maybe the first page can be static and then everything after that can be dynamic, but we'll worry about that later. But we'll work on to doing the on-demand revalidation with hooks for individual posts. And we'll do all that on the next one. But if you enjoyed this, I want to thank you first for joining me or watching this later. It's truly an honor. So feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be dropping a lot of Payload CMS content, a lot of NextJS content, and would love for you guys to follow along with that. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop those in the comments section. If you want me to cover something in specific, I can do that as well. Just let me know what you're thinking. Make sure you get notifications to know whenever I go live or whenever I drop a new video. Like the content, share it, and if it helped you, definitely share it, because I think it can help someone else. So that's it for this one. I'll see you guys on the next one.